Hey, greetings there, everybody. It's GleeCon coming at you once again with another episode more of Warcraft. On our last episode, we looked at the chronicles for basically why you would attempt to uh, dungeon quest slash raid Blackrock Spire from a lore perspective, and we saw how when you kill Thaurissan and rescue Moira, she doesn't want to have any part of that, and she wants to keep leading the Dark Irons, and that's kind of why that sets up the way that it is. So stay a while and listen as we continue our side piece, where we're looking at World of Warcraft, the role-playing game, the Lands of Mystery. I decided that we're going to break it into even smaller bite-sized chunks to reduce fatigue on my part, and hey, there's no rush on this because we are just going to keep doing the side stuff as long as it takes. It's just a fun thing. So rather than trying to really push through it, it doesn't matter. So we're going to look at Azshara this time. So it has a population of 9,000 now. For perspective, that's more than double. Well, that's no Ashenvale. So this doesn't have. This is counting the Naga, the Sea Giants, the Satyrs. And then there are some Night Elves, Blue Dragons, some Taurens, some High Elves, some Furbolgs. This is counting everything. And at this point in the beginning, there are no major settlements. Interestingly, there is a language called Naja. Maybe that's the Naga language. Torahe is the name of the Tauren language. Ursine, I'm guessing, is Furbolg. After the Great Sundering, a good part of Ashenvale was renamed Azshara to remind the Night Elves of their mistakes. Okay, so Azshara is basically part of Ashenvale. The Night Elves consider the forest cursed, and few are willing to stay in the area for long. The trees themselves don't look quite as bad as the ones in Fellwood and parts of Ashenvale, but they are stuck in a perpetual state of autumn. So right there we have the explanation of the color of the region, but also, interestingly enough, it's considered just more Ashenvale. Azshara is covered in highborn ruins, many of which have recently been taken over by the foul satyrs and Naga. Perhaps even more intriguing is the presence of the blue dragonflight in the area, which certainly implies there is something important here. The blues are highly territorial and are likely to attack anyone who wanders into the ruins, they claim. Fortunately, the blue dragon spawn here are common and visible enough that a passerby is unlikely to wander into dragon territory by accident. And that's true. Those blues are still there in the north of Azshara, and the only thing I can think of that ties them there is the quest line where you can become a mage essentially and do the little trials of frost and shadow and flame. Due to the rumors about magic items in the area, both the Alliance and the Horde have set up camps in the area to investigate. I do not expect either to have too much success with so many dangerous creatures in the area, but time will tell. People and culture. While Naga are the most populous race in the area, they're relatively new arrivals and many other people inhabit the area. Both Night Elves and High Elves alike seek to reclaim the area for their people, but at present, neither race has the numbers to put much of a dent in the Naga or Blue Dragon spawn occupation. Fortunately, the Alliance has been wise enough not to anger the dragons into sweeping them out of the area completely, at least for now. There are a good number of Timbermaw Furbolgs in the region, and I believe they're native to the area. The Timbermaws are one of the few Furbolg tribes that remains uncorrupted. While the Timbermaws aren't tainted like many Furbolgs, they are still aggressive toward outsiders, primarily because they are the targets of fools who think they are corrupted. Given a chance, they talk, but it takes some effort to gain enough trust to be allowed access to their tunnel system. They love me in that tunnel. I wasn't able to get inside this time, but I do plan to help them a bit later and see where their tunnels go. And I believe they connect to Fellwood. Geography. Azshara's terrain is uneven, with a single main road representing the only level ground in most of the area. The hills and mountains are treacherous, and an inexperienced climber will no doubt have difficulty reaching the higher peaks. The highest peak I could find in the area was guarded by blue dragon spawn, and as such I'm unable to report what can be found there. That road is now currently connected as like a goblin rocket highway. The majority of Azshara is dotted with ancient trees, but there are some open plains as well on both the northeast and southeast tips of the mainland. Several islands are also included in the region, and a few of them are noteworthy. A few months back, a fellow member of the Explorers Guild constructed a landing platform suitable for a flying machine on one of the furthest islands to the south. I would suggest having our flying machines patrol that area on a regular basis and use it as a staging point for excavations into the area. I noticed the presence of several water elementals on the island northeast of the landing pad. It was quite a distance away, and I didn't fancy fighting the elementals if they proved unfriendly, so I left it alone. There's also the Bay of Storms. The eastern coastline of Azshara is called the Bay of Storms and notable for several reasons. First, it forms almost a perfect crescent shape, with the north and south points extending far further east than the center. This makes swimming out to the small islands that cover the area easiest from the tip, since it is quite a distance from the center of the bay to any other solid land. Second, the bay's name is accurate. Thunder, lightning, and tidal waves constantly strike at the ruins here, making the bay a dangerous location. Now, currently, that bay is occupied by a big goblin kind of flotilla that serves as a large city. It also is what has established this area really as primarily a horde questing zone, and its proximity to Durotar. Also, the shape of the Bay of Storms in conjunction with that flotilla, as my son likes to point out, it is a perfect horde symbol. So that's just neat, and it feels like something the goblins probably did on purpose. Sites and settlements. There are a few formal settlements in Azshara and no intact cities, but nevertheless a large number of people and monsters reside here. Generally, Naga, satyrs, and dragon spawn control the ruins, and everyone else is forced to find other places to camp. So there's Camp Valormock, a tiny little camp. This small encampment is the staging point for most of the horde forces in the area, and it consists of little more than a gathering of a few tents and crude walls. Still, it's better than the Alliance holdings. We've got nothing but a landing pad and a couple of elves standing around here and there. Yeah, so that's true. Eldorath. Before the Sundering, Eldorath was one of the most beautiful cities of the Night Elves. Now in ruins, the Naga have reclaimed it, and the powerful warlord Krelian controls the ruins from the shattered remains of Elun's temple. About half of the ruins of the city are deep underwater, and I didn't feel like putting in the effort to explore them at the time. Plenty of underwater fun was already in my future. The Forlorn Ridge. This massive area in central, eastern to southeastern Azshara is controlled by the Blue Dragonflight. The Blue Dragonflight's presence in Azshara is unusual. While a standing army of several hundred dragon spawn is present in Azshara, only one full dragon dwells with them. This massive dragon, Azhuragos, is not immediately aggressive and wanders much of southeastern Azshara. When I approached the dragon, he ignored me completely at first, but after I identified myself, he was willing to speak. His message was simple. There were things in this place not meant for mortal eyes, and while he understood my curiosity, he suggested I leave the area immediately. When a blue dragon the size of a small town suggests I do something, I take that request seriously. The blue dragon spawn are not permissive of outsiders in their territory, and I had to retreat to prevent a fight. I'd really like to keep our relations with the dragons positive. And Azhuragos is a big player in World of Warcraft, so I might be wrong. Maybe you could always quest in Azshara, but I just feel like it was a dead zone in the beginning. And we're going to find out when we play Classic. Ravencrest Monument. The furthest southeast peninsula is marked by a tremendous statue of Lord Kurtalos Ravencrest, Lord of Blackrook Hold. He led the armies against the first assault of the Burning Legion before the Sundering, and as far as I can tell, he's about the closest thing the Night Elves had to what we'd call a paladin. The statue is in pretty bad shape, only the legs still stand. The remainder of the Colossus is smashed to bits. After 10,000 years, though, it's remarkable the statue still exists at all. I must admit I was impressed. The stoneworking here rivals some of our best. Just the legs stand as tall as our fabled statues in Lochmadon and Ironforge. Naga seemed to like it too, because there were quite a few of them guarding some shrines in the area. I made my way over to one of the shrines and saw a couple strange Naga statues, but I wasn't able to discern what exactly the Naga are up to here. Temple of Archeron. Another former Temple of Elune now belongs to Archeron, the supposed god of the sea giants. Apparently the Makrura and Murlocs in the area think he's some kind of divinity as well. Or at least they seem to be calling for his help when I introduced him to dwarven sharpshooting. Fortunately, his children proved mortal enough. I had to put a couple down on my way over to take a look at the temple. Unfortunately, about a half-dozen giants guarded the temple entrance, so I contented myself to watch from a distance. I camped out for a few good hours, hoping to see the god out for a walk, but he never came. After inquiring about it to a few of the night elves in the area, they said I was lucky. Apparently, Archeron only leaves the temple when he's in a foul mood, and I decided that wouldn't be the best time to ask him a few questions. So that sounds like the sea giant area. History. The night elf city of Eldreth was one of the greatest before the Sundering, and perhaps the most severely damaged during the explosion. When the Sundering shattered the continent of Kalimdor, much of the eastern part of Azshara was destroyed and drifted underwater, leaving only about half of Eldreth on the surface. The remaining parts of the city were severely damaged, and although a few inhabitable buildings remain, most of them have fallen apart in the 10,000 years since. One side effect of all the sudden destruction is that many speculate that there are numerous unattended magic items remaining in the ruins, both underwater and above ground. This rumor is both true and false. There are certainly objects of power here. I picked up a trinket or two myself. They are hardly unguarded, even discounting the Naga and dragons. Many of the ruins are haunted by ghosts and specters. And here's some adventure hooks. The rumors of treasure in Azshara are true, but adventurers find the competition fierce. Many groups from the Alliance and Horde alike scour the ruins, and the Blue Dragonflight and Naga carefully guard Azshara's greatest secrets. So a potential quest, you could do a rare gift. Archeron, the ruler of the sea giants, emerges from his temple under heavy guard. Rather than attacking the creatures in the area, he makes an offer. The first creature to bring him the head of the Hydra that has been eating his children will be rewarded with great secrets and power. This unusually powerful Hydra is located east of the Bay of Storms, so you could do some water missions. And Azshara does get fleshed out quite a bit, especially for the Horde. But yeah, I'm curious because I don't know why exactly, but I just remember this being a dead, useless zone, and I played Horde in the beginning, so we'll see how it goes, and I look forward to that greatly. But it is interesting just how much of it already is in place now. To start it off, like the Ravencrest Monument, the Temple of Archeron, like these areas are Camp Valarmok, those are intact and ready to build upon. Okay, everyone, I thank you as always so much for watching and listening to the weirdness, the oddness, for humoring me and maybe humoring yourself by watching Lore of Warcraft. This one, in the pipe, 5 by 5.